Good evening. I'm Jeremy Johnson from Grand Rapids, Michigan, Beer City, USA, and welcome to episode 9 of Brew. With me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Levesque.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Just enjoying this awesome day over here in Seattle. You know, nice and sunny out. So, ready for a beer.
Okay, so let's start talking about beer. Did you see that Stone Brewing came out with that new coconut IPA?
Yes, and it was actually sitting on the counter at BottleWorks.
Dude, you gotta scoop that up.
I was just about to, and then, well,
you got something else.
Yeah, I got hustled into a, Saison. And by hustle, I mean that's what I was in the mood for, so that's what I picked up.
Isn't it funny though? I mean, I know a lot of the local beer shop owners. They're all really helpful and willing to help you out picking something that they think they like or they think that you're going to like. I did have, I think I told you, a Cap and Cork up in a little bit north here, Comstock Park. Very helpful attendant, and he recommended, I think it's Maharaja is an IPA. It's quite high though. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 10, 10.5. But I gave it a try one night, and it wasn't bad, but it was, I think once some IPAs, and I guess we'll test that theory here in a minute, once they reach that 10% level, they tend to, the hops start to get a little muddied. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I've had that much experience with that high content for an IPA, but I can see what you're getting at.
I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind that or why that occurs. I don't know if it's the wort, maybe the hops are added early on and they just sort of get cooked and muddied and that sort of thing. But I don't tend to like that type of beer. If it's I want the hops I much prefer fresh. So I'm really looking forward to the one I'm doing tonight because it seems like it's going to be that variety where the hops maybe were added later. And give a much more floral type of aspect. I'm hoping, anyways.
And what's the percentage on that one?
Tonight I'm doing the Stone RuinTen, and you can see the thing on there. It says limit one per customer.
Nice.
And this was the only one that was on the shelf. And this was out in Livonia, Michigan, where my brother lives. Last weekend we picked it up, and this is 10.8, so it is quite high.
You've been favoring the hefty beers lately.
It's odd because I haven't. I mean, I don't ordinarily go to that route, but I've tasted some really good ones lately. Last night I tried Lagunitas Little Something Wild Ale. So they use a different strain of yeast. It's a wild yeast. But if you ever had the Lagunitas Little Something, it's that same sort of like an hoppy amber kind of thing. And it's this one comes in at 8.8. I can't remember what the Little Something comes in at, but the Little Something Wild came in at 8.8, and it was fantastic. I mean, the hops just went on and on and on from one little sip. That's all I had.
Well, thanks for the recommendation. I believe we have that over at BottleWorks, so they tend to carry a lot of Lagunitas, so
it's definitely worth picking up. And I'm a big fan of Lagunitas, anyways. But 8.8, I'm kind of like, I might try the, 6, 7, but up towards there. But I will seek it out. And you're absolutely right. Lately I've been hitting the harder ones, and I've been really super pleased with them. So let's dive right into our beers tonight. I'm going to go ahead and focus on me. And like I said, I'm doing the Stone RuinTen IPA. It's got a pretty bottle. I like that. It's like a demon head or something. That the gargoyle is sort of there.
Is it a gargoyle or a bull?
It's not really a bull. You can see it's a.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, it's.
When I first
it's
looked
sort
at
of a demon head or a gargoyle head. It's a really cool bottle. I mean, the design is like pretty freaking sweet. They release this annually.
You don't keep your bottles, do you?
Only if they're really cool. I did check, and I do still have those bacon maple from Rogue, the pink ones.
Nice.
They're underneath the bar. I thought I had thrown them away, but they. Oh yeah.
Man, that was
how's that smoke? Yeah.
Looking good.
I got a better video camera, so definition is quite
It's
different.
also reduced the glare.
Good. Off my head.
That's what I was going for.
All right, into the glass.
That is a nice, crisp picture you got there.
Thank you. Look at that.
Nice tall head.
Yep. That is 3 fingers easily. Gold, I mean, very crisp golden.
Oh, definitely.
It is, I'm looking at it through the light here. I don't see any carbonation at all. That's kind of unusual. It looks very flat, very golden. Looks like it's straw colored. It looks a little honeyed. Maybe the alcohol is sort of, got rid of the carbonation and some settling. I don't know. But it's beautiful. I mean, you can see right through it.
That is a beautiful beer.
No holes in the glass at all. Everything is in the head. The head is, sort of creamy, slightly off-white, but not too bad. It's got some really nice lacing there on the sides of the glass. You can see that. See some good structure to the head. Very thick. It kind of reminds me of Goose Island almost.
Okay.
The same sort of color. So, all right, give this a whiff. Woo! Okay, so yeah, they're very tropical. You can get a little bit of the alcohol. I get a little bit of funk too. Not really a sour, but more of like a little bit of farmhouse kind of thing going on.
A little bit of funk, like kind of like aluminum can funk that you get sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Yeah, I mean, it has a steely characteristic, but I think that's just the hop backbone. Maybe my sniffer's not up to par tonight. But yeah, like almost like a musty smell. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It almost foamy head. It's almost like whipped cream in there. Very subdued. I would have expected a much brighter display of hops.
Maybe the alcohol percentage is masking it a bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting on the nose. I just think
But I'm surprised it's not sweeter actually. If it's
well, we don't know. I haven't tasted it yet.
well, I mean the aroma, like a little sweeter aroma for.
Yeah, I mean it has that sort of like deep tropical fruits, like overripe mango, but overripe papaya, like really soft and gushy.
So maybe that muskiness is actually like an earthy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the earth of the fruit, like the like not the rinds, but the.
It's this. It almost smells like dust in a vacuum cleaner. I know that's not a totally positive sort of characteristic, but
we've already mentioned the skunkiness, so
not skunky, but a musty. So a musty,
right.
Dusty kind of thing. So okay, I'm gonna get right into it. See what happens here.
That's that kind of beer. Then all in the tongue.
It is. Wow. It's
very coating.
The bitterness is pretty high. I'm not sure what the IBU is on this, but it is very. It's just like a mouthful of hops, like just wet hops. So it's got coarseness along the top of my mouth, a coarse characteristic. My tongue is super dry, so just immediately, boom. I'm getting sweetness in the back of the throat, and even though there's no carbonation, I am getting like that little pinch right there, almost like a little bit of sour kind of thing going on. Really dry, but it's good. I mean, I love the fact that the hops are, even though you don't really get a whole lot of them on the head, on the aroma, which
is something personally I like. Just a nice burst of hops.
I do too. I love grapefruity, high citrus nose, bright. And this is more sort of like contemplation. It's kind of like you really want to sit back and just sort of read a good book and sip on this a bit.
So our next T-shirt to say, "Sip on this."
The bitterness is just, in my opinion, lovely. It's not over bitter, but it is so prominent. That's just a lot of fun. I mean, that's everything just sort of go. It's like this sort of mangoey, green, verdant, sweet, but not over sweet. The sweet never is allowed to do anything except for coat the back of your throat. And then this rush of hops just, coats everything there, and it's just, kind of makes you pucker up a bit, and then you're left with that just very nice sensation, a little bit of alcohol burn as I breathe in and out. So the ABV is there, but it doesn't step on your toes. It's not horrible. I think this would be just fantastic with Indian food. I could see like just a nice goat curry and a glass of this. My God, that would be pork tacos too. Would be fantastic. Well, I'm going to continue to sip this, but I am super duper curious to hear about your Saison, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Alrighty then. Well, I'm doing. I think it's Almanac's Brewing Company. I think it's yeah.
Yep.
It's
So right there.
Farm to bottle. I'm not sure. That's actually what I thought is what the guy at Bottle Works said that the actual brand was. That's why I was confused a little bit earlier.
Yep.
But it's a honey Saison. And I was actually really interested in this. There's two other kinds they had there, a stout and a pale ale. And they said the stout was incredibly dry. There's not even a touch of sweetness in it,
Right.
which actually intrigued me initially. Thinking about going back and getting that actually after this, if this is any good.
Wow.
It's a nice. Woo! It's quite the head there. Is that 3 fingers?
That's a few more than that. That's a couple hands. What the heck?
Highly carbonated, if you can tell.
Yeah.
Not sure if you can see that.
Okay, yeah, I see some bubbles.
Nice golden color. Trying to let this settle a little bit more, but it's wow, it's really going. The honey is actually quite predominant right off the top. It's very fruity, almost peppery actually too. It's got a nice kind of a bitterness to it.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting any sort of farmhouse?
Not as much as the honey, but I think it's not. There's not a lot of aroma to it. Like right when I poured it, it was really heavy, but it's kind of dying down quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But no, not a lot of Saison at all actually. So.
And it looks just about as foamy and creamy as my head was.
Yeah, it's.
It's very
impressive.
thick, yeah, almost like soap suds.
One glazing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a ton there. I can see it.
I'm gonna give this a little taste here, and I actually didn't even fill up my glass. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm feeling the half is glass full today, guys. Seattle humor.
Was that the whole bottle in there?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Peppercorn and ginger. It's very strong, very strong.
Wow.
I would actually say this leans towards it's almost a heavier spiced ale. Like it really has more characteristics of a spiced ale than the Saison flavor. In fact, it's very subdued as far as what you would normally see from it.
That is crazy. I mean, I guess. Yeah, Saison, the Brew Provence, I believe, does have some peppercorns in it, I think.
Really doesn't coat your mouth at all. In fact, it just tastes like carbonation. Like it really slippery, actually, kind of texture.
That's the honey.
Yeah, it must be. And as it sits, it leaves this really. At first, it feels like it's gone. It feels like right when you taste it, you get a burst of flavor, and then it's just gone. But now that it's sitting a little bit, it's actually kind of getting a bitter coating, like on your tongue. Like it's really the peppercorn is all that's kind of left in the taste, which is not necessarily something that I'm enjoying, but it's just a little heavy as far as.
Yeah, I've noticed this too with some of the quote-unquote sessionable beers, anything that's below 5%, they tend to add ingredients that are very demonstrative in the hopes that it'll set them apart from, so it gives them some sort of character, because if you don't have a whole lot of ABV, then you're missing out on malt and, backbone and body and all that stuff. So that might be what's going on there. They might have added that. Like the ginger is unusual for, I think, in a Saison.
It's
Not your style.
it's well, I can see drinking. I'm kind of glad I have this just this small bottle this time instead of a 22 ounce. The pepper is actually so thick that it's. I mean, you might as well lick the pepper shaker. Like that's the only way I can really describe it. So it's all right. Like I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to get it again. It does say it's dry, or it's a dry Saison too, so it's probably why it's more of a more of earthy tones. But as far as Saisons go, this is. I mean, it's
not your favorite.
Not my favorite. It's a Big Time Brewery, just down the road has. I think their Saison actually tops Brew Vivant's.
Ooh.
And that says a lot because I thoroughly enjoy Brew Vivant Saison Saison, if I remember.
Yeah. Well, let's give them a roundup before we dive into other topics. So I obviously have enjoyed my Stone RuinTen IPA. As this gets warmer, I'm enjoying it more. It's sort of opening up a bit more. So I could see that this might. I'm not sure if it'll age that well, but I will give this a 9.
Wow.
I really, really enjoy this.
Let's start letting you pick for me.
So I gave mine a 9. I have a figure in my head where you're going to land, but I'm hoping you.
You're hoping I'm nice to this brewery, since every other beer I've reviewed so far. Like, by the way, I don't ever drink from them. If you trust me at all, which you probably shouldn't. Well, like I said, not my favorite Saison. If you're really into the peppercorn thing, that's not beer for you. Which, I think it's hit or miss for me. Sometimes, like, as long as I like its presence, but I don't like it to be at all overpowering. It's just too much for me. I was hoping it would be a little bit on the sweeter side, actually. So I was mildly disappointed. But as a fan of Saisons and having had a lot of them, but I think I'm probably gonna I think I'll run a. I always feel so mean because I feel like someone's gonna watch. Like, wow, he just doesn't like any beer he drinks. Like, well, I'm gonna have to go with a. I'm gonna go with a 6.
Ooh, that was. I figured you were gonna land on the 5 again.
Well, the thing is there's a lot of complexity to it. Like, it does have a lot of varying flavors, which is great. I think in this case it's just too much for me. The peppercorn is just overwhelming to me. But outside of that, like, it's a multi-dimensional beer. Like, it has all the characteristics of like what I would like to see. And it's got a nice head. It's got a great color, and a decent mouthfeel too. But it's just not so. Yeah. That peppercorn is just really, like, if it wasn't quite so strong, I would probably go up to a 7 or an 8. But in this case, it's very overwhelming. So.
All right. Well, good. That I guess a 6 ain't too bad, but what are you gonna do? If you don't dig it, you don't dig it.
It's better than bad.
Yep, better than bad. It's good. All right, I think that's gonna wrap it up for our beer portion of the show. So we're gonna stick around just for a couple minutes more if you want to, and talk about a couple things, movies mostly. And otherwise, if you're just here for the beer, have a good evening. Have
Adios.
the rest of your night. And
Brew
brew
you.
you.